So I'm gonna. Is that where you saw the Johnny Cash thing? Okay, I forgot I even put that up there. So I'm going to do the thing I always do, and I apologize that I do it. I told you all last week we're going to start the Ten Commandments. We're not. So last week, or last 2 weeks, we've been at Mount Sinai. And I was actually listening to a podcast about something unrelated, and a single sentence got my brain on overdrive. And so you are now going to suffer what happens when my brain goes on overdrive. I want to talk about fire. I know that seems the most random thing in the Bible, but there was a thought I had that really begins at Sinai. So what I want us to do is look at the Bible as a whole and explore this issue. Think about it. If I were to say, what does water represent in the Bible? We're Baptists. You'll be able to say things like, well, it represents judgment. Think of Noah's Ark. You can think of the Red Sea. The water crashes and falls on the Pharaoh's army. You would think of those sort of stories. But it also represents cleansing. This is what baptism is all about. So the Israelites pass through the waters, and that is a type of baptism. Remember that Naaman has leprosy. He's told to go into the water 7 times, and he's cleansed of his leprosy. John the Baptist, repent and be baptized. Bear the fruits consistent with your baptism, and over and over and over again. So it doesn't surprise us then, given that the second verse of the Bible describes the earth full of water, and the end of the Bible describes the river of life flowing from the throne of God. We can see the riches of a single image in the Bible. But if I were to say to you, fire, I don't know if we Baptists can really come up with much. Or really, most Christians really come up with much. It may, if you're like me, you see it as a detail of a story, not a development of a theme. And a theme that finds its climax in Jesus. And so I did a little bit of deep diving on this, and I think I have solved a riddle that I was hoping no one would ever ask me. And that's where we're going to end up. So Exodus 19, verse 18, we're going to read one verse just to connect it to Mount Sinai. If I were to pick one verse in general, this would not be it. But I just want to show you that we're still kind of the Ten Commandments. We're just not looking at the Ten Commandments. So Exodus 19, verse 18, one that we looked at last week. Moses writes, "Now Mount Sinai was wrapped in smoke because the Lord had descended on it in fire. The smoke of it went up like the smoke of a kiln, and the whole mountain trembled greatly." This image sounds a lot like a volcano. And you actually find those looking for Mount Sinai, they often will begin looking for a volcano. There's not a volcano, as far as we know, in Saudi Arabia. Or Sinai Peninsula. But it sounds like one. And we talked last week that the idea of the kiln may be connected to their experience in slavery in Egypt. That when they had to make bricks, we have found these kilns in Egypt. The image of don't forget where you came from may be what Moses is doing, and God in particular is doing here. But this, of course, is a frightening scene. And as we'll see, that it's so frightening that they're unwilling to ascend the mountain, even though they are invited to do that. So I want to give you, I got 4 ways that the Bible uses fire. And this is going somewhere that if you're like me, you're going to be excited about it. So stick with me. Here's the obvious one. What is the purpose of fire in the Bible? It is light. And in fact, that is in the Exodus story. What leads the Israelites through the day and the night? What's a cloud by day? It is a pillar of fire at night. And both of those play a significant role in the Exodus story. So if you want the reference, Exodus 13, the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead them along the way, by night in a pillar of fire to give them light. There it is, explicitly given. And we know this. It is a movie trope, isn't it, that someone will create a torch, light it on fire, and then they'll go through the cave, whatever the movie is. Maybe it's an abandoned house, in an apocalyptic world, there's no power. We know this, that if you ever go camping, why do you have the fire? Well, if you're a little boy like I was, we went camping, and we boys camped without any parental supervision. You remember those days when you could do that? And we played flashlight tag. But what was the purpose of the fire? It helped us find out how to get back. It was lights and warmth. It kept animals away, all that sort of stuff. It functioned as light. I don't think I'm telling you anything that is surprising. Psalm 78, referring back to the Exodus, in the daytime, the Lord, led them with a cloud, and all the night with a fiery light. Clearly, fire, light, connected. Boom, you get it. And if we had time and we wanted to have fun with this, we would go straight to Jesus, who's the light of the world. And we could look at that theme of light, and fire is part of the development of the theme of light. But clearly, Bible associates fire with light. I don't want to spend forever on that. Secondly, it represents God's presence. And this is actually quite significant. In fact, we don't need to leave the Exodus story for that. The fire by night didn't just provide light for the ancient Hebrews. The purpose of the cloud and the fire was to remind the Israelites that they are not being led by Moses, they are being led by God himself. And this is made evident as the story continues. But the first place that not really the first, but one of the early scenes, particularly for our purposes this evening, that we see this is actually the burning bush. And we're going to come back to this scene. This scene